10 years ago this month, I set up my LLC, signed my first paying clients, and officially became a business owner. The past 10 years have been filled with ups and downs, twists and pivots, incredible highs, frustrating lows, and literal blood, sweat, and tears. And with all of that, of course, comes many, many, many lessons learned. More often than not, the hard way. In this episode, I'm going to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of me becoming my own boss by sharing a few of the most important lessons I've learned in the past 10 years so you can learn them the easy way. Stay tuned. Hey there, I'm Shawn Mynar, and this is Unstuck Entrepreneur. I'm a former nutritionist who turned a struggling, stressful nutrition practice into a thriving, freedom-filled online business where I work from home in my sweatpants while reaching and helping thousands of people all at the same time. Now I'm obsessed with showing other heart-centered coaches, practitioners, and solopreneurs how to build a business and life they love. Consider this podcast your safe space to learn both the inner work and practical strategies required to build the impactful, profitable business of your dreams. No hustle, grind, or long hours required. That's right, hustle culture, not welcome here. Let's get into today's session. Hey there, friends. Welcome back to the Unstuck Entrepreneur podcast. So grateful to have you here checking out the show. Today, an extra special episode because we're celebrating the 10-year anniversary of me going out on my own, no clue what the heck I'm doing, being just sick of working for someone else and starting my own business. It's one of those things where I cannot believe it's been 10 years. I remember making that decision like it was yesterday. I remember telling my family and friends and doing all the stuff so vividly, but at the same time, it seems like I've been doing this forever. It seems like I've been doing my own thing and not having a boss and making my own decisions and my own rules and my own schedule for a long time. So, yes, I am celebrating this month, and part of that celebration is coming at you with some things that I've learned along the way, because I think y'all know this by now. One of my biggest, deepest goals and desires is to help you with your business and to make it easy and simplified and a fun process. And part of that is learning from my mistakes, hopefully. And so what better time to take a trip down memory lane, think back on some of those mistakes and all of the lessons I've learned along the way, and share some of those with you. Now, there's a ton of lessons. This podcast episode could be days long. So instead of me doing that and boring you all, I picked the top 10. And by top, I mean the ones that I think you all need to hear the most based on what I'm seeing, what I'm experiencing, what I'm talking about with clients. These are the ones I know may resonate with you the most and really need to sink in for you to be able to take the next steps in your business and be able to make it to your next milestone, whether that's 1 year, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, whatever it is. All right, so that's what we're going to do today. A quick history on my business, just so you have a little background of where I've been, where I started, where I am now, all of that stuff. I know most of this I have shared in bits and pieces on the show, but always fun to go back and see where I've come from. But when I officially started my business 10 years ago this month, I was working in a corporate environment, but as a personal trainer. So I actually, the year before that, transitioned out of operations management for that corporation, which was like a large box gym corporation. And, as part of my process of trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, I switched into being a personal trainer and really loved it, really did well quickly in that area, but still was under this corporate environment where there were specific goals and specific scripts and this and that, all these things that you had to do that just did not work for me. And I knew I could do it better, to be honest, and I could do it more authentically and in a way that didn't feel like I had to hit these goals and I had to say these specific things. And if I didn't, I was going to get written up and just, ew, gross, right? So got to a point where I was so fed up that I put in my notice and decided to start my own personal training business, which included me driving to my clients' homes and training them in their own home. At the time I had a small SUV. The entire back of my small SUV was full of training equipment like kettlebells and dumbbells and boxes and just all the things, bands, steps, all the things. And so I would take these things to my clients' homes, bring in whatever we needed for that session and train them, and then drive all across the county to other people's homes all day. And it was actually fun, like really fun, really great, because first of all, I was finally out on my own. I was doing my own thing. I was making my own schedule, and it was great. But obviously, you can understand that that business model can't really last for long without me getting a little burnt out from not even training people, but from being in the car all the time. Didn't go that well. I ended up burning myself out pretty quickly from that. So that was my first couple years in business that I did that. And I was probably netting like 10, maybe at most $20,000 a year. Not great, right? Because think about it. I'm training people and then I'm spending a ton of time in the car in between clients to get there and it was just not good. That just really shows my complete ignorance about all things business. So I should go back and mention that when I decided I was fed up with my job and wanted to do my own thing, I had no experience. I had no background in entrepreneurship. I had no clue what I was doing or how I was going to do it or how I was going to get clients or how I was going to make money. None of that. I had no dollars in my bank account, no savings account, no investors, no nothing. I just knew I wanted more for myself and I knew I would figure it out. And that's always been my MO. I want something, I'm going to figure out how to make it happen. And that's what I did. And it was a struggle. And obviously I wasn't making very much money those first few years. I was carrying a little bit of debt from my business and also living very, very frugally, I guess we could say, and made it work. And during that time, I had also become interested in nutrition based on my own experience, having really helped out my autoimmune disease and other issues I had with my health by switching my diet. I just became obsessed with it for myself and then ended up really wanting to help other people with that. So I went back to get my nutrition certification from the Nutritional Therapy Association. So that was all going on in the background of me having this personal training business as well. Then right before I graduated with my nutrition certification, I hooked up with a friend that we knew each other through Instagram, had never met in person, but got in touch with a friend and we started a podcast. Now, this was back in 2015, so almost 8 years ago. And there were obviously podcasts out there, but not very many, not nearly as many as there are today. And once we started our podcast, we really started creating a community around that podcast and got listeners pretty quickly and pretty easily and really had this momentum going. So then once I became certified in nutritional therapy and knew I wanted to have that business be entirely online because I was still doing personal training in person in my own community, locally, but knew I wanted to be able to expand my business out further and so use the nutrition aspect of that to do so, and could meet with clients via Zoom, or at the time it was more like Skype, meet via Skype and connect with people that way. So once I became officially certified and started that aspect of my business, I had a little bit of an audience already because of the podcast and was able to attract some clients from that and kick off my nutrition side of my business while still doing the personal training as well. Then I got sick, or really this was all kind of happening behind the scenes too. So while I was in my nutrition certification, while I was still doing my in-home personal training, while I was starting this podcast, I was also in the midst of this major mystery illness situation, which I've talked about a ton. I think most of you at this point know it ended up being mold toxicity from living in a moldy home, and it really affected my health and life and all that stuff for several years in a big way. But business-wise, it meant that I really, truly did not have the energy to do my business in the way that I had been, the way that I had sustained it for that period of time. I had absolutely zero energy. And there were so many days where I would wake up, I would have breakfast, and I would have to go back to sleep for another 4 or 5 hours because I was just exhausted. And I did not have the energy or mental capacity to train, to go to my clients' homes and train them. And I tried, of course, to sustain that, and it just made it worse and worse and worse. So I ended up having to cut back on that side of my business in order to heal my body. And so, yes, I was still having these nutrition clients come to me, which was amazing because I could be at home. It wasn't taking nearly the amount of energy to work with those clients as it was my personal training clients. So my business was slowly transitioning, and I was ramping up the nutrition aspect and dialing back the personal training aspect. And so at this point, this is mid 2016, around the summer of 2016, when I really started feeling like if I continue this, I'm going to get really burnt out. And I really do need to take more time for myself. I really do need to heal. This is taking up a lot of time and energy, and I just want to get better. My number one goal in my life is to feel like myself again. And if you've been in that place where you have been sick, especially with this mysterious illness and nobody knows what's going on, and you have to go to all these doctors and all this stuff, and you don't feel like yourself, then I know you understand where I was at. I don't care if I'm in debt for the rest of my life. I don't care if I don't have a business at all. I just need to get better. I just need to feel like myself again. And that's where I was. And it was around that time that it clicked in me that I could create a space online where my clients could get the help that they needed from me without having to meet with me one-on-one. Which now looking back, yes, I was creating my signature program. At the time, I didn't realize that's what I was doing. I was just thinking of a way where I could still help the people that I wanted to help without it taking so much of my time and energy, so that I could then use that to get better. And then came up with my signature program, the Fat Burning Female Project, spent 3 months creating that, launched it in January of 2017. And then that is really when my business started to exponentially change and grow. Continued to have the podcast, started up a second podcast specifically around keto. And again, when I created that podcast, my only goal, my thought was, I want to have a place where I can answer the common questions that I'm getting from the people who are going through my program. So they have this space, this additional way to get more coaching and advice beyond just the program, and, continue to get this weekly content. That's what I thought. And then, started the podcast, and the next day it was the #1 nutrition podcast, and it stayed that way for a while. And it just really took off because, gosh, I'm just going down the rabbit hole, but this is what happens when I don't have notes to follow. And I also just had a coffee an oat milk latte. So I'm just going to talk a lot in this episode. I hope that's okay. Anyway, the reason why that podcast took off and what I teach my clients that want to have a podcast to do is it was so hyper specific. It was called the Keto for Women Show, which means it's specifically talking about one type of diet, one way of eating for a specific type of person, which is women. And not just any woman, but a woman who wants to learn that style of eating for whatever reason they have. So it immediately took off, was super popular, grew really fast, and then that led into people becoming part of my program. So for a very long time, a couple of years, the only way to work with me was through my signature program, the Fat Burning Female Project. And then it got to a point, this was in 2019, mid-2019, where I just felt complete. I personally was no longer using keto, which I had been to help heal from the mold toxicity, and it helped me tremendously with all of my symptoms and really helped reset my body and detox my body. And that's the whole reason why I got into keto and why I was teaching keto for women. But I was no longer in need of that myself. I felt like I had shared everything I wanted and needed to share through the podcast and through my program. I had helped thousands of people. There had been almost 3,000 people that had gone through the program at that point, and I just felt complete with it. It felt like that chapter of my life and my business was done. What had come out of that experience, though, was this very obvious knowledge that women who are searching for a specific way of eating, or a diet is what it really was, need more than just the diet. And very rarely, they don't even really need the diet. They need the mindset work that nobody is doing, that is really at the heart of what they're seeking. And so then I transitioned into teaching mindset work and energetic work for women as it relates to their bodies, their health, any sort of healing or detox or program or protocol or whatever they're doing. I wanted to get into the mindset work of that. And so did that for a little while. And it was just something that I didn't, to be totally honest, I didn't have the right audience for. It was a really great program and one of my favorites still to this day that I created, but it wasn't the right offer for the audience that I had. Those people still wanted the quick fix and didn't want to do the mindset work. And so it kind of died. And I know there are people listening right now who have been through that program, the Unstuck Project, and it is something that I talked about at the beginning of this podcast that I'm now doing, which was called just the Unstuck Podcast. And it was a program that coincided with the work we did here when I first started this podcast. And it just kind of fizzled out because, first of all, like I said, the audience wasn't the right one for what I wanted to do with that. And at the same time, while I was creating the Unstuck Project, I was behind the scenes working with some of my friends and some of my peers, my fellow nutritionists, and even a few personal trainers. I was working behind the scenes on helping them with their businesses. They had just come to me as friends, as peers, and asked me kind of how I had built up the business that I had, the podcast that I had, the program that I had, and if I could help them with it. And I did, kind of behind the scenes, never thinking that it would really turn into anything else. But as I got going with that and really started having those conversations and working with those people, I loved it. I had so much fun with it. I loved it. It was working. They were getting results. They were experiencing the business they wanted to experience. And I just really enjoyed having those conversations with them. And that's when I started transitioning to work on businesses and helping business owners, specifically wellness business owners, create the business that they want. And here we are doing that now on what is turned from the Unstuck podcast to the Unstuck Entrepreneur podcast. And I think it's now been almost 100 episodes specifically for entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship and new business owners and seasoned business owners. And as you know, if you've listened to the show for any length of time, the mindset and energetic work that I was doing with women who were wanting to work on their health, their body image, all of that stuff, it's the same kind of work. It's just now transitioned into helping people who want a business, who want a successful business, who want to be their own boss and make their own money and set their own rules. The same stuff really still applies and can be transitioned into really any type of work, any type of industry. And so that's incorporated into what we talk about here. And then also, obviously, the practical business stuff, which now that I've shared my entire story, my entire 10 years of business in 20 minutes, now you know where that strategy and practical step-by-step approach comes from. It's just from me doing it, from me living it, from me having things that worked really, really, really well and things that didn't work at all, and learning every single moment of the way, and then taking those moments and sharing them with you and everything I've learned and all of the processes that have worked and putting them in a package so they work for you too. That's what I'm doing here. And that's what I'm doing in all of my programs and everything I have to offer you as the business owner. All right, let's wrap that up. That was literally supposed to be a 5-minute conversation that turned into 20. So I apologize. But now you know where I'm coming from and where these lessons I'm about to share with you come from. And so let's get into those. And I will just let you know, I shared these already on Instagram. I think by the time you listen to this, it'll be last week. So you may have seen these, but Instagram gives you like 2,200, I think, characters in your caption, and I can't do anything with that. So I only shared the list, but now I want to expand and elaborate on that list. Okay, starting with number 1, patience is your biggest asset. I know that we live in a world of immediate, instant gratification. And there seems to be this idea that that same thing can apply to your business. But I am here to tell you and to remind you over and over again that business building is not an immediate gratification kind of thing. I really wanted to include this, and probably this is the most important one on this entire list, because pretty much every client that I talk to, that I have, whether they are one-on-one clients or in Signature Program Lab, or just have communicated with me through direct message or email or whatever, every business owner I talk to or wannabe business owner I talk to, they get really emotional and, if I'm being honest, kind of have these freak out moments when things don't happen immediately, when they put out a freebie and mention it once and no one signs up, or they send out one email about a paid offer and no one joins, or they put out the first Instagram post they've put out in 2 years and they only get 2 likes. I know you wanted a booming business like yesterday. I understand that, and I know how emotionally charged everything that we do in our business is. But please give yourself some grace. Please give your business the patience that it needs and deserves, because that is what it takes. This is a long game. Keep in mind, I just gave you my entire business story, and for 3 years, I was not even making $20,000 a year in my business. It was slow. I was struggling. I did not know what I was doing. I had no idea. And in that time, I had tried a lot of stuff. I put out several different online group personal training things. I don't want to call them programs because I didn't even know what that was at the time. I don't really know what they were, to be honest, but I tried and no one bought them. 4 times I tried to put these things out and no one bought them. For those first couple years, I had probably under 100 people on my email list. I was putting out freebies. I had started using social media. Again, this was 10 years ago and social media was a thing, but it wasn't the same as it is now, obviously. We were putting out filtered photos on Instagram and we were just using Facebook to share the pictures of what we did with our friends that weekend. It isn't what it is now. And so I was starting to try to figure out how to use that stuff and doing a lot of trial and error, but all of it took so much time. And so, yes, I know instant gratification is a real thing. It's getting more and more and more so as we progress in this lifetime, but your business is not that. And it takes a lot of time and work and patience to get it to the point where you want it to be, most likely. Of course, there are all kinds of different situations. There are all kinds of people who have had overnight success, and I'm not saying that's not possible, but if you can practice patience with your business, if you can be in it and have the mentality of being in it for the long haul, you are actually more likely to see that happen faster for you, to see the overnight success maybe be more possible for you. But can we move past the idea of, I'm going to create this paid offer, I'm going to talk about it 2 or 3 times. If nobody bites, I'm calling myself a failure. I know my business is doomed. I'm going to freak out. I'm going to get super emotional. I'm going to get all imposter syndrome-y and just go back into my hole. That is what I see. And that is what I don't want you to do, because patience is a virtue here. And can we really, really practice that to grow the business that you want to grow? Number 2, almost nothing goes as planned. It kind of goes along with the last conversation where you can plan and plan and plan and have all these great ideas and this great vision in your head and just really feel like your business is going to really boom after that one launch, after that one email, after that one Instagram post. But here's the thing. Your business isn't really in your control, which is kind of a hard and weird thing to say, but hear me out. Your business relies on other people's decisions and actions. Your business relies on those people deciding to hit the purchase button, deciding to say yes and work with you. And that is not in your control. You may say, well, yeah, but that's why I do the marketing and that's why I have my sales page and I have all this stuff. Yeah, you are doing a great job of communicating what you offer and how it can help someone, but you're not making that decision for them. You're not forcing them to do anything. I sure hope not, because that would be really terrible marketing. So it's not in your control. So you control what you can, which we'll get into, which is the marketing aspect of that. And you go with the flow of knowing that your business is unpredictable and that your plans may not go as planned. I have planned a ton of things in my business that have not worked, that did not go as planned, that did not meet the goal that I had set. I have not planned things that just have all of a sudden happened and took me in a totally different direction. almost nothing goes as planned. And the more that you can embrace that, the easier it will be to stay detached from the plans and goals and ideas that you have when they don't go as planned, and not get emotionally involved or as emotionally involved when that happens, once you've really wrapped your head that nothing goes as planned. And this goes into number 3, which is you still got to plan it out anyway. So just because things don't go as planned and a lot of your business is unpredictable, you still need a plan of action. You still need goals to hit, targets to reach. And yeah, it may not happen, but it does help you be strategic. It helps you be organized, and it helps you kind of know your path. Know what you're working on and why. The business owners that I see and that I work with that are struggling the most are the ones that don't have a plan or a vision or a goal or anything. They're really just kind of flying by the seat of their pants. They have an idea and they're like, let's do this. And they just do it, and without really thinking it through, without really understanding, well, what's the plan behind doing that thing? What is the ultimate goal? What do you see really happening there? Even if it may not go in the way that you thought, if you have a plan, you are really creating the action path that gets you there. And that's what we really need. So I always recommend at least doing 90-day plans. I think 90 days is a really good chunk of time that you can get specific, that you can really envision and see and look at that 3 months on your calendar and plan out when you're doing what. I think that really, really helps. And of course, yeah, you can have a yearly plan too, but then chunk that up into 4 quarterly plans. That's how I do it. That's how I recommend. It helps immensely to have that organization in your business. And you need that. You need organization in your business. You need a strategy. You need that plan. Number 4, not everyone will like you, and that's a good thing. And I think we all know this, but yes, it still is hard to see that first unsubscribe or that first negative review or that first refund request or that first hater on your Instagram post. And there's a joke now, I know we've talked about it several times in the Unstuck entrepreneur community, which is, you're officially in business when you get your first hater, when you get your first mean comment on your social media feed. That's when you know you've really made it. So you are not going to be for everyone. Your work is not going to be for everyone. You probably will turn people off. People might get the wrong idea, the wrong message. They just aren't a good fit for you. And that is a good thing. In fact, the more polarizing you can be with your business and with who you help and with what you believe, the better. The more specific you can be, the more niche you can be, the better, which means there are going to be people who don't believe that, who don't think that, who don't want that. And that is a good thing, because for as many people as there are who don't agree with what you have to say, there are twice as many, 10 times as many people who strongly agree with what you have to say. And having that agreement, having that buy-in, having that similarity in beliefs is what will get them to become lifetime paying clients. And that is obviously what you want to grow your business. So as soon as you know that your stuff isn't going to be for everyone, and it's okay if people unfollow you, it's okay if people unsubscribe, it's actually a really good thing, because that means that you are building the right community of the right people who really want to connect with you. And that's what really matters when it comes to growing your business authentically. And if you do get mean comments on your Instagram or a negative review on your podcast or whatever, welcome to the club. You made it. You can, trust me, I know how hard this is. It is incredibly hard to let it go, but it is really good practice in just letting it go. Block that person, delete that comment. If it's on something like your podcast and you can't, just see what you can do to send them good vibes and let it go. All right, moving on to number 5. You know this was coming. I say this all the time. Do the scary thing. Let me tell you something. Every single action step that you need to take to grow your business, the things that will actually move the needle, they're scary. Period. End of story. They are scary. They will get that fear going in you. It will feel like maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe this isn't right. Maybe I'm not ready. Let me go just spend my time doing something else that doesn't really matter. The ego voice, as we know it here on the show, will come up big time, all the time. If you are doing things right in your business, you should be hearing that ego voice a lot. And we know by now that that does not mean you don't do it or you shouldn't do it. It only means that you are stepping into new territory, you are getting outside of your comfort zone, and you are doing something big. That's all it means. You get to decide where you go with that. So do the scary thing. And as you do it, first of all, that thing immediately becomes way less scary. Like if you're starting a podcast, you put out your first episode and it's like the hardest thing ever. By like episode number 3, you're like, oh, this old thing, yeah, hey, no problem. But then other things that are out of your comfort zone, like that next step, that's one more spot out of your comfort zone, that becomes less scary too. And yes, you still feel it and you still know it's there and you still get that ego chatter, but you know better by now. You know that that does not mean don't do it. You know it's just because you're doing things to really, truly move the needle and grow in your business. And that's what it feels like to do that. So please do the scary thing. I promise you, it will be the thing that makes your dream business a reality. Number 6, every quote unquote failure is really just a learning experience meant to get you closer to your expansion. Again, something we've talked about here on the show a lot, something that we know, but maybe we just need reminding constantly to remember this. Sometimes when you do those scary things, like we just talked about in number 5, they don't go as planned. In fact, let's go back to number 2, where almost nothing goes as planned. A lot of times things don't go as planned, even those scary things that really push you outside of your comfort zone. But that does not mean it's a failure. That doesn't mean your business is doomed. That doesn't mean no one wants what you have to offer. That doesn't mean that you need to go back and get another certification or take another course or any of the things. It just means that you are going through a learning process, which we all do all of the time. Being in business is a constant learning experience every moment of every day. And so when things don't go as planned and you want to call it a failure, can you look back on that and pick out everything that you learned? And if you really do this as an exercise, like you really do make a list, you really do look back on that and say, well, yeah, I really did learn a lot. You will have this huge list of all these things, all these ways that you've grown through that process that you wanted to call a failure. That really, this just was another step in the process, which is constantly what you are doing in your business. And like I mentioned back a way long time ago, when I had these first ideas for like online type programs for my fitness business and tried to put them out 4 times with 0 people purchasing all 4 times, I called that a failure. I was not happy about that. But guess what it made me do? It made me start learning how to market myself. That was the first time that I actually picked up a book on marketing, and I started following people and listening to podcasts about marketing after those failures, because I knew that I didn't know a lot of what I needed to know to make that a success. So instead of it being a failure, it was really just this eye-opening experience that then I never dealt with again, because from that point on, I became a marketer as well as a personal trainer, as well as a nutritionist, as well as a coach. And that's what I kind of explained in the last episode that you need to do, that I really want you to do this year, is step into that role of business owner, entrepreneur, which one of the biggest hats that you wear in that role is marketer, instead of just seeing yourself as the coach. But if I wouldn't have had those experiences where no one wanted what I had to offer, I wouldn't have ever gotten to that next level. And I really wouldn't have the business that I have now, because I wouldn't have learned what I needed to learn. So failures are just learning experiences. Number 7, set big goals based on your big dreams and led by clear intentions. All of this, what that really means is, please don't sell you or your business short. You are capable of amazing things. And so create those big dreams and those big goals. Get outside of your comfort zone, even when it comes to your goals. This lesson came to me just as I started thinking about where my business has taken me, and just knowing that there is no possible way I could have ever fathomed that I would be doing what I'm doing today and having the experiences I've had and helping the people I've helped and just creating this whole life for myself. Never could have thought that was possible 10 years ago. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a goal. I didn't have a vision. I didn't have a dream. I just didn't want to work for anyone else again. And I was that way for several years until I started really working on mindset work and energetic work and realized I needed to create a vision for myself. I needed to have something more than just like this business that was barely getting me by. I wanted something more. I wanted something much, much, much bigger than that. And as soon as I allowed myself to think bigger and to have this big, grand vision for myself that at the time I didn't know if it was even possible, but I started to believe in myself and I started to create those intentions of why I wanted it and what it would look like and what it would do for me and my family and my friends and the world. Then I was really able to snowball that vision and snowball my dreams and my goals. Those big goals became my reality. Those big dreams became my reality. And of course, as you progress, you create bigger and bigger and bigger goals. You're never done visualizing another rung for yourself, another rung up the ladder. But to think back on where I was and how much has changed since then, and just things I never would have thought possible for myself are and were possible. And the same thing goes for you, but you have to create that for yourself. You're not just going to step into it. You have to know what you want and why you want it, and really get there with your energy, get there with your mindset, and move from that place. So I want you to set huge, big, crazy, scary goals for yourself and do it with your intentions in mind. So really understand why you want what you want, and then go from there. And just when you have it backed with that intention, that big why, it's just like so powerful, and it will create the business of your dreams. Number 8, inspired action over busy work. Another thing we talk about here a lot. I'm just like the biggest, craziest advocate of taking inspired action versus just like sitting down at your computer and doing some busy work that really does not move the needle, doesn't do anything for your business, and just kind of makes it seem like you're busy. It's like you're feeding your ego with the like, yeah, I'm working on my business and I'm getting things going, and I'm working on this freebie and I'm sending out this thing, and I'm designing this and I'm checking in on my website again and making little tweaks and all this stuff that is not going to move the needle and is not creating the business of your dreams. Again, wrapping this all into one big package, the inspired action is going to be scary and it will feel uncomfortable. And that is when you know that you are on the right path towards your expansion. And I add the word inspired in front of action because at the same time, it needs to, while it will feel scary and uncomfortable and your ego doesn't want you to do it and all that stuff, it still feels right. It still feels exciting underneath all of that. You still get kind of like tingles of joy and excitement and expansion and growth. And it's like, oh, this is so scary. And I'm having all of these stories around it, but I also know it's right. And I also know it's what I want. And I also know it's what I need to do to reach the people that I want to help. So that is, busy work, taking uninspired action and just doing some ho-hum stuff versus doing the real thing. That's what we want. Moving on to number 9, be unapologetic about marketing yourself and learn how to do it properly. This is something that you're going to hear me talk about a lot more in the coming year. This is a big focus on what I want to help you with in 2023 is the marketing aspect of your business, because I see a lot of struggle, and what I really see is you creating these amazing offers and having this deep desire and passion and purpose to help out other humans and wanting to connect with these people and really go down this path and journey with them to get them to a better version of themselves. But you don't know how to market that, and it's not happening. And you spend all your time creating all these offers and getting your website set up and all of this stuff. But then when it comes time to actually sell what you have to offer and talk about it and market it and get people interested and excited and invested in it, you don't do it. And as much as we all want it to be this way, your business is not a situation of if you build it, they will come. That's not how it works. You are going to need to market yourself, and you're going to need to feel confident and comfortable doing so. And like I said, being unapologetic about it. And one of the biggest reasons why this is so challenging for a lot of you is because when you hear marketing and selling, you immediately think like annoying, slimy, sleazy, pushy. All of that stuff is kind of like forcing people or coercing people or persuading people into doing things they don't want to do. And that's not what you're doing. What I am hoping that you do and that you learn how to do and that you'll be unapologetic about doing is creating a marketing system that builds true connection and trust with the right people. And it attracts those right people and it makes them feel seen and heard and understood. And the thing is, when you are creating that kind of marketing system in your business, which is really this true, authentic, genuine, like heart-centered marketing system, as you can tell, which is what I'm all about, it takes time. It's not going to happen with a few Instagram posts or a few emails that say, oh, hey, I created this program and it's so great. I have this coaching package and it's going to help you so much. I made it just for you. You're going to love it. You should totally buy it. And I'm not saying that's what you guys are doing at all, but there is a lot of just like kind of ho-hum, kind of blanket marketing happening. That's just like, here's this thing. I made it for you. Go buy it. And that's not going to work. It doesn't work. And so how can we instead really step into this unapologetic marketing of the work that we do in a way that feels authentic and real and creates that connection and that trust with the people that you want to help. And like I said, we're going to be talking about that a lot more in the coming episodes of Unstuck Entrepreneur, but focus on that unapologeticness and what you can do to feel so confident and connected in how you are offering up your services. All right, last one, number 10, always remember, just keep going. Going back to number 1, patience is key, and it takes time to really truly build the business that you want and deserve and your clients deserve. That takes time and practice and patience. And when we are in this place where we start feeling like it should have happened already, or we have something that didn't go as planned, which goes back to, I think, number 2 or 3 or whatever, at this point I forgot, or we have something that we would deem as a quote unquote failure, it can be easy for your ego voice to say, this isn't going to work. This isn't for you. You don't have anything good to offer. No one wants what you're putting out there. No one's listening. No one cares. You can't get anyone to join in. Let's just give up. That's what your ego can say, right? But really, what do you want? What's the vision that you have for yourself? What does your future look like? And if it looks like you having your own business, helping the people that you're meant to help, fulfilling on your purpose and mission, following your passion, and doing it all in a place where you work for yourself, where you are your own boss and you make your own rules and your own schedule and all that stuff, then that is what you need to listen to. Follow that vision. And if you can get your ego quiet enough, then if that vision is what you desire, your intuition, your inner voice will tell you to just keep going. And if your ego is so loud that you can't hear that, but you know that's what's right, then remember me telling you that right now. Just keep going. It will make sense. It will grow. It will work, but you've got to keep at it. And in the 10 years that I've been at it, I've had to tell myself that countless times. There's been so many times where I just wanted to quit. I wanted to give up. It all became too much, and this is all my ego stuff. After things, of course, didn't go as planned, failures happened, pivots were needed, all the things. But at the end of the day, I still knew what I wanted. I still knew how I wanted my business, my life, my story to go. And that is what has kept me going for 10 years now. And that will wrap up my 10 lessons for you that I have curated over the past 10 years of being in business. And yes, these were all lessons that I had to learn along the way. And I'm sure there will be another bazillion lessons that I'll learn over the next 10 years too. So be on the lookout for 10 years from now, another set of lessons that I will share with you. But in the meantime, so happy to have you joining in on this journey. Please reach out if there is anything I can do to help you on your business journey so that you do make it to your next milestone. Like I said, whether that's 1 year in business or 20 years in business, whatever it may be, I'd love to help you get there. You can send me a direct message on Instagram at Shawn Mynar, and I'd love to chat with you there. And until next time, take care. Hey friends, Shawn here. And if you're a coach or practitioner who's looking to help more people make more money and have more free time, then I have a special invitation for you that you don't want to miss. Right now, I'm hosting a free masterclass that will walk you through the process of adding a signature program to your business. As many of you know, the signature program business model has been my primary way of doing business since 2017. And after 7 programs of my own created and helping dozens of other wellness pros create theirs, I'm now sharing my exact process with you for free in this 1-hour masterclass. Now you might be thinking, Shawn, I'm just not ready to have my own program yet, or I don't have the time to build a program right now. Are you crazy? I totally get it. I get all of it, which is exactly why I created this training in the first place. I want you to see how possible this really is for you and how simple it can be when you have a tried and true proven system in place, no matter where you're at in your business today. So if you're like most coaches and practitioners who have a dream of creating a scalable offer in their business that helps the people they're meant to help without it being directly tied to your time and energy, then there's a seat with your name on it inside my Burnout Proof Your Business Masterclass. In just 1 hour, you're going to learn why adding a signature program will uncap your income potential forever and give you more time for your own life, health, family, and self-care. You'll learn exactly how my client sold out her first program, even with a small audience, because of this one super simple marketing hack that I am going to reveal. You'll learn the simplified, foolproof process that will take your knowledge and experience and turn it into your own program in just 6 weeks. And also how to implement an automated marketing system that will grow an engaged audience full of perfect match clients that can't wait to enroll in your program once it's ready, even if right now you're starting at 0. All you have to do is head to shawnmynar.com/burnoutproof and save your seat for this masterclass before it's gone. shawnmynar.com/burnoutproof. Can't wait to see you there.